See how rotten this wiring is. Right, I'm just trying to take all the wires out so I've got a bit more room. Just need to tidy up some of these holes, get a bit more of the old wiring out. Right, so after much deliberating and measuring and blah 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 blah, what I think I'm going to do is, I was concerned that some of the length of the wires aren't quite right. They need to be fettled a little bit. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to solder everything in at this end of the stator, feed it all through the engine, out through where it's gone, that hole there, which comes out here, and then adjust the sizes so that the ones that need to fit there can fit there, the ones that fit inside the junction box will fit there. I can crimp on new terminals, that's easily done. I think that's going to be much easier than trying to measure back from here to then try and get it to fit on the stator plate. So that's what we're going to do next, is just get everything soldered and routed. I also think I was trying to get to route everything up through one hole, but it's just getting really difficult to do. I don't know whether these wires are a bit thicker, so I may end up routing them through a couple of different holes and then all coming together through this sheath when it goes through the engine. I think that's going to be my easiest. If it doesn't work, I'll have to take it off and rethink. Solder. It's pretty tight. So that's the black, blue and green in place. So it's the red goes onto there, and the white goes onto there. That's two bits. One done, just in there, and finally the red needs to go in there. Right, I think we've got all the bits soldered. So we've got the white soldered on there, red's on there, green's on there, blue's there, and black comes through there. They're all nice and tight. So I suppose the next job is to test what kind of readings we've got. Are we still getting the same kind of readings that I should have down at the wires? So I've now done the soldering. So what I'm going to do is a bit of a test to see what kind of values we're getting resistance wise through the wires. So So green to white, I should be in the region of 500 ohms resistance, plus or minus 20. So that's at the lower end, but it's not disastrous. 480 is it too. So it's kind of on the bottom end, but I think it's worth a go. And then white to red should be in the region of 110 ohms. White to red, absolutely spot on, so that's good. So I think it's definitely worth a go and see if this works on the scooter, which won't be far off trying some initial kickstarts. Right, so that's the stator plate finished. With my level of ability, that's about as good as I can get. The figures, the resistances seem to be about correct. The soldering looks to be okay. The experts out there don't hate me, but that's as good as I can do. I know that the back is probably not exactly correct, but with the wiring I've got and the way I could guide them through, I think that's just going to have to make do for now. Right, I'm going to put the stator plate in. I am going to time it correctly at a later stage, but for now I'm just going to go with the stock timing. So when this goes on, that little mark there needs to line up with that little mark there, which should be roughly 23 degrees before top dead centre, but I'm going to sort it out at a later date. Just going to line that up there, we'll see how that works out. It's another step closer. We have a stator, whether it works or not, let's see. So what I've now got to do is, that's the H2 lead, the red, green and white connect into 3 of these terminals here. That's an earth, which will go there. That green there also goes into that, and then the black and blue here tie inside this junction box to this black and blue here. So it's, I know where everything needs to go. What I need to do now is get it all to try and fit. Right, I've just quickly tacked on the junction box. It's not screwed in yet, but it's in the right position. The wires are coming through, so this is going to help me sort out if I need to make any changes to the lengths of the wires. I hope not. So the red, green and blue are going to plug into this box here, going to come down there, and they're actually going to come be encased inside this rubber cuff there. So that's all straightforward. I'm hoping that I maybe don't have to alter the length of them. Wait to see on that, might have to just slightly shorten those, make a bit long. And then the blue and black will basically turn back up on themselves, and definitely need to change the connectors on those, because they're going to tie in with those, that blue and black coming down through that box there, and that single green is going to go all the way down through the box, or potentially on the outside, but ideally it's going to go down all the way down through the box and plug into the other green connector there. Good little job. Don't know how well that will come out on camera, but we've got a new spade terminal. That's all good. Right, so I've got the wiring kind of into position now, the black to black, blue to blue, the green that comes all the way through, and then the white, red and green. So those four are going down to the CDI box here. That'll be earth. That should be it. Just very quickly, took the wires in, put the covers over, stator's done, recheck the wiring, the resistance again, it's still matched, so I think that's another job ticked off, another step closer. Okay, so we're going to sort out all this wiring at the front down here. So that junction box clips there, and I've got a whole load of places to fit these wires, and then that goes shut. Job's a good one. So essentially we've got these 6 wires which are all indicator stuff from the left hand side of the headset, plus those 2 which are getting the power to the horn, going up to the button on the right hand side of the headset, and those all link with those. And then this one here is where the pulse from the horn button and the headset comes back down to actually plug into the horn. So that's what we're doing now. Now we'll try and get all those into there. So I've got all the wires in, and now I need to do a little bit of tidying up, getting that lot to come out the bottom and that lot to come over there. A lot of wiggling, but I think we've got all the wires in. Took my back. I think what I'm going to do is just put a cable tie, kind of maybe one there and one down there, and a cable tie there, just to secure things up. That's good to go. Right, I'm just in the process of wiring up the controls, done the front brake and the speedo, which is very fiddly. I'm not doing everything super tight, I'm just getting it in place and roughly getting it correct. So I'm just working at the moment on the clutch and the rear brake. So I've just banked the scooter over slightly, just to make life a little bit easier. So the last thing I'm just trying to do now before I call it a day is roughly set up the gear selector. So when the gear selector's on, there's 2 selectors, one which pulls it up through the gears, one down through the gears. So if I'm in, let's say I'm in 3rd gear and I want to go down to 2nd or to 1st, this plate needs to swivel that way, so that means it's the inside cable that's pulling, and if I need to go up from 2nd to 3rd, it needs to pull that way, so it's the outside cable. So if I then go to here, and if I go from 3rd and drop down to 2nd, so I'm going to that, it's the inside cable that's pulling. If I'm going to go from second up to third, I want the outside cable to pull, so those are the correct way around. So I think that's going to call it a day there, and that's ready to that's now ready to set it up tomorrow. So I'm going to get the shifter set in neutral, get this set in neutral, and get these two cables adjusted properly. Slot that back on, and we've got the control cables done. Okay, so we're going to try and get the gear selector cables sorted today. So what I've done is I've made sure that the two cable housing, one there is completely set in and one underneath there, so they're both seated correctly at that end. So what we've got down this end is we've got this cable here pulls the gear selector into a lower gear, and this one pulls it into a higher gear. So what I've now got to do is keep in the correct tension. I need to move this up into that first notch, this up into that second notch, secure them down, and then I can tuck the wires out of the way, and if necessary I can cut the wires back, and then this goes back on to the gear selector rod, which is there. So that's how we get on. One thing I've noticed, but I don't know whether this will come out on camera, is the two tines on this side. The bottom one is actually bent in slightly, so the nut here that slots into there won't quite fit in properly, so I need to just gently bend that bottom one back out to match the top one. The other side looks fine. Hopefully a bit of fettling will sort that out. To finish it off, I'm just going to trim the wires back a little bit, put a little bit of solder on, so I can tuck them out of the way properly. Right, so I'm just trying to work out this wiring in the headset. I think I've actually bossed it. Just labelled up some of the trickier ones, and then I think I've worked out from the wiring diagram where everything's coming from, where it goes to, kind of gently put things in place. Every wire is accounted for, so once I can get some kind of a turnover at the back and generate a little bit of AC current, then I'll be able to know whether it's working. And then finally, the difficult bit, I've got to get it all crammed inside the headset. Happy days. Right, I've been playing around with all the electrics in the headset. I think pretty sure I've got everything in the right place. Green one's come undone. So I'm just going to attach the speedo, put the headset in place. I'll probably end up tightening some of the zip ties I've used, try and get everything to fit properly, and then it's a case of getting the fueling sorted out and we can try to spark it up properly. So buttoned everything up underneath there, so I think all the wiring's correct inside there. I've now fitted, I didn't film it because it was fairly straightforward, but so I've now fitted a new tap to the bottom of the petrol tank, and we've now got a fuel line coming through onto the carburettor here, into there, got the air filter on the carburettor, got the wiring done at the back here from the stator plate, which is inside there on the flywheel. So I think now we're basically in a position ready to try and kickstart it. So tomorrow is going to be a big day and we're going to have our first attempt at seeing whether it runs after 36 or 37 years. Place your bets now.